Okay, welcome to this ITSM Value Stream session where I will explain you why it's important to use value streams for IT. And first of all, it's important to understand that in IT, we have different management objectives that are common in any IT service provider. The first one is one of the objective is to define valuable opportunities. Meaning what? Meaning that when a customer of service has an idea for a new product or new service, we need to be sure that this can be a valuable opportunity for the service provider and also for the customer. Another one is what we call generally the time to market constraint, which is in fact the objective to deliver service components quickly. Another objective is to be sure that even though we deliver a service component quickly, we minimize technical disruption. In other words, we tend to ensure that we have undisrupted operations. Another objective for IT management is about cost. We need to be sure that for the customer, he pays he has the best value for money, meaning what? Meaning that we optimize the total cost of ownership and the total cost of consumption. And the last objective that we commonly see in IT management is to facilitate service delivery and consumption in order to realize value from services. So when we look at these objectives in what we call our blue model, in fact, what it means that generally we start by an innovation or an invention or we can say an investment on an idea, okay, for a new service, for a new product. And that's where we can have this objective of, does it make sense? Will it bring some value? What is the valuable opportunity from that idea? If the idea tends to be valuable, then we start to develop a product based on that idea. And this product is the basis for a service that then we operate. So you see, we develop a product and then we operate a service. And along these processes, we can see that we have the other objectives that we already mentioned. So that means the time to market from the beginning of the development of the product till the service is delivered. This is the timely delivery objective. The time and the industry operations are related to operation of the service, and cost and effort, of course, I mean the optimization of the TCO and the TCC are related to these phases, development and operations. And when the service is operated, then of course it is delivered to users that use it. And that's where we can, in fact, measure the realized value. So now let's focus on the first objective, which is the valuable opportunities. In other words, how we can ensure that we can have a potential value from the idea of the customer or, of course, or any other service stakeholder. In fact, there are some impediments that we identify that could prevent this objective to occur. One is what we call the value leakage. It's important to understand that from the point of view of the potential value that you estimate when you have an idea, it's always the maximum possible value you can get. And from that point, you have what we call a value leakage. So from the value proposition till the moment that the service is delivered, you will have a value leakage. That's in fact inevitable. Another question is potential value for who? And in many cases, in fact, there are not the right stakeholders involved in value proposition. Another thing is that we don't, in many cases, focus on different possible options that we can have for this possible potential value. So that means we say we're stuck in one idea and we don't see alternatives. So we keep to the plan. And the last impediment we see to potential value is that even though we say, okay, we started with one option, even if we have different options, there is never any process that ensure that we can review our decision and maybe say, okay, we didn't take the right option, so now let's revert to another one. So there is no decision reviewing process. So these are the impediments to this objective. And we will see later in another video how the value streams can be used in order to address these impediments. But let's continue with just an example of what I said about the value leakage. In this slide, you can see, in fact, what I explained previously. You have the value proposed, which is, for instance, in a business case. And then, you know, in each stage of the product and service life cycle, you find that this value proposed is diminished, okay? Because you have requirements, you have prioritized requirements based on constraint. You have technical constraints that lead to the fact that some requirements cannot be fulfilled, and so on and so on. And at the end of the day, the real outcomes you get from a service is very, very small comparing to the value that is proposed in the idea of the beginning. So this is very important to understand, and value stream can help at least addressing or minimizing this value leakage. Another objective is timely delivery of the service. So for that, we also have some impediments. One is inadequate risk management. What it means that, in fact, when we want to deliver the services quickly, we have a tendency to accept a lot of risks. So that means the risk appetite becomes very low, very high, sorry. So this brings more risk for the service and its operations. Inaccurate estimates. When, you know, we define the target in terms of time to deliver a service, okay? In many cases, we have very optimistic estimates. Once again, time delivery for who? The stakeholders who define the timely delivery may not be the same as the one who will, in fact, really need the service. So in that case, there can be a difference and discrepancy between the required target time to deliver a service and the real time to deliver a service, because you don't ask the same question to the right people. And inadequate resources. In order to be sure that you can save some time, you will try to, for instance, focus on the development part. And then you will leave, for instance, in many cases, the testing part of this cycle. So you will, in fact, have an issue in terms of resources allocated. Okay, these are impediments to timely delivery, and of course, when you are you have the critical path, so that means you can have some dependency that creates some delays. All that leads to, in fact, having a longer time to deliver the services that is required. Then you have undisrupted operations. That's very important. We live in an agile world. And in agile never said that you have to deliver quickly, but in a bad manner. We have to protect the level of quality. So in fact, it means what? It means that you need to ensure that you have undisrupted operations. A way to understand the undisrupted operation objective and the impediments along the way that can prevent this objective to be fulfilled is what we call a balance scorecard. For you to understand, you can see, okay, here, for instance, from the customer side, we don't exactly know what is critical for them. What are the vital business functions? We don't really exactly know how it works, the pattern of business activities. On the other hand, from the financial point of view, there can be a problem, you know, for undistributed operation in terms of cost. What is the overall cost of end-to-end service delivery that can maximize the, let's say, availability of a service? Demand management is a problem because on its own, because there is a lack of demand management, which can in fact have a dramatic impact on the description of operations, and architecture constraints that are not always managed properly can be an impediment to undisrupted operations. And then we have another objective, which is related, in fact, to optimize cost and effort. That's what we said when I was talking about the total cost of ownership. The first thing is we need to be sure that regularly we have the possibility to get the stakeholders' feedbacks regarding the structure of the cost and the cost themselves. And of course, as we saw previously in another part, it's difficult in many cases to really have accurate estimates on cost and on the total cost of ownership, but also on the total cost of consumption. There is no real proactive approach to increase efficiency of IT solutions. That's another impediment. And business analysis and architecture management are not working in tandem but in isolation, which can lead to most costly solutions that don't really address the needs of the users and the customers. So that's why it's important, very shortly, to understand that architecture management, business analysis are two capabilities that should really work together. And the last objective we have, which is realized value, we want to maximize the value from the service that are used, can be jeopardized by different impediments. First, service improvement. Yes, because in fact, when you keep improving your service, it means you keep changing it, which can have a direct impact on the value realized. Service usage. We say, okay, from the beginning in the value proposal, we assume that the users will use the service as we want. But in fact, in reality, we have to monitor and we can see that there are many components of a service that are in use. And if they are not used, you cannot really maximize the value from them. And of course, the service experience itself is the main impediment that can, in fact, have an impact on the value that is realized. That's it. Thank you.